And I'm Rob Schmidt. Thanks for starting your day with us. And straight to our top story this morning, President Trump and GOP lawmakers unleashing on the FBI and demanding answers. This after a Fox News exclusive reveals a tainted top agent sent anti-Trump text messages. Griff Jenkins is live in our nation's capital with the new details that are unfolding overnight. Good morning, Griff.
Good morning, Jeanine and Rob. It was quite a tweet storm by President Trump, even by the president's standards, but mainly it was the tweet criticizing the FBI, this one. After years of Comey with the phony and dishonest Clinton investigation and more running the FBI, its reputation is in tatters, worst in history, but fear not, we will bring it back to greatness. That drew strong reaction from former attorneys general Eric Holder and Sally Yates, who wrote this: the FBI is in tatters? No. The only thing in tatters is the president's respect for the rule of law. The dedicated men and women of the FBI deserve better. It even caused Senator Lindsey Graham to caution the president.
I would just say this to the president: there's an ongoing criminal investigation. Comey may be part of it. You tweet and comment regarding ongoing criminal investigations at your own peril. I'd be careful if I were you, Mr. President. I'd watch this.
Now, this is Fox News' exclusive reporting about a former deputy director of the FBI for counterintelligence being removed from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigative team for exchanging anti-Trump texts with a colleague. About a former deputy director of the FBI for counterintelligence being removed from special counsel Robert Mueller's investigative team for exchanging anti-Trump texts with a colleague. That agent, Peter Strzok, also worked on Hillary Clinton's email scandal investigation, and now lawmakers like Congressman Mike McCall want to know more.
I think the more disturbing report I heard come out was that one of the FBI agents assigned to the Mueller investigation was reassigned because of his political views. The fact that this was one of the lead agents on the Hillary Clinton email investigation, if true, I think it's very disturbing and possibly could call for a reopening of that investigation.
So here's where it stands. Fox News is told that the Department of Justice is working with Speaker Paul Ryan to schedule a time for Agent Strzok to talk to House investigators. We'll expect to hear a lot more about it, guys.
All right, we're going to have a panel talk about that and go a little more in depth later on in the show. Griff, thank you so much.
The clock is ticking as the House and Senate face two major deadlines: passing historic tax reform and avoiding a government shutdown.
Yeah, Kelly Wright is here live with the mad dash to get both of these done. Kelly.
Guys, would you like to try to do this by Friday?
No,
may not
at all.
Lawmakers return to Capitol Hill today with two specific goals on their agenda: to approve a spending bill to keep the government from shutting down after Friday, and the Republican-led House and Senate must hash out differences in their tax reform bills during conference before sending a final draft to President Trump before Christmas. Now, the House and Senate tax reform bills have some big differences. Among them, the Senate bill cuts individual taxes only through 2025, plus repeals the individual mandate that Americans must buy health insurance under Obamacare. But the House and Senate bills will each reduce the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20% and eliminate state and local tax deductions. Some Democrats argue that giving huge tax cuts to business is not a sure win for workers.
Why not put a requirement in that these companies would actually invest some of that money in training their workforce, giving them skills they need to compete, as opposed to what I'm afraid is that we will see the vast majority of these funds come back and be used for share buyback and dividends.
Also, Democrats, along with some Republicans, are concerned about the elimination of the state and local tax deductions in high-tax states. Now, that could cause Senator Susan Collins to vote against the final version of the bill.
No, I mean, obviously I want to see what comes out. I believe that the amendments that I added on medical expense deductions, on property tax deductions, on helping retirement security for public employees improve the bill.
She's pretty firm on that. And on that government shutdown, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, well, he's confident Congress will pass a temporary spending bill in a bipartisan fashion before the government runs out on money on Friday. Easy said, but not easily done.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Back to you guys.
Kelly, thanks so much. All right, despite threats from Democrats to hold the government hostage over DACA, the Trump administration is confident that Congress will secure funding before the clock runs out. Mick Mulvaney, director of the Office of Management and Budget, says it's just another example of why the president is so eager to drain the swamp.
You know, it's funny to see it now that the Republicans are in charge. I think there's a group of right-wingers in the House who say they want to shut the government down. There's a group of Democrats who want to shut the government down over DACA, and there's a group of lawmakers from some of the hurricane states who want to shut the government down until they get what they want. This just sheds light on the fact that the appropriations, the spending system is broken when any little group can sort of hold the government hostage. We need to get beyond that. I think that we will. I don't think you'll see a government shutdown. Deficits are a function of two things, the amount of money in and the amount of money out. Spending is one of those, tax revenues is the other. We have to get the tax revenues up. That means we have to get back to a healthy American economy, grow the economy so that you make more money, I make more money, ordinary Americans make more money, and so does the government. That helps lessen the deficit.
Another Fox News exclusive, the acquittal of an illegal immigrant in the death of Kate Steinle, now pushing a Republican lawmaker to take a stand against sanctuary cities. Indiana Congressman Todd Rokita planning to introduce a bill today that would threaten a $1 million fine and up to 5 years of prison time for elected officials accused of sheltering illegal criminals from deportation. Jose Garcia Zarata, a convicted felon deported 5 times, was cleared of murder and manslaughter in the 2015 killing of Kate Steinle on a pier in San Francisco, which is a sanctuary city.
A man charged in connection with the death of a 3-year-old girl will face a judge today. Earl Kimry, the live-in boyfriend of Mariah Wood's mother, is accused of hiding the toddler's body in a creek about 25 miles from her North Carolina home. The 32-year-old has a lengthy criminal history, including larceny and charges of assault. Mariah was reported missing 1 week ago, and Kimry claims to have been the last person to see her before she disappeared from her bedroom. It is not known how the girl died or who is responsible for her death at this time.
So sad.
Yeah.
Just hours from now, President Trump will arrive in Utah to announce major changes to several national monuments. He's expected to reduce the size of the 1.3 million acre Bears Ears National Monument by 85% and shrink the Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument. The order will lift bans put in place by former President Obama during the final days of his administration that stopped Utah's efforts to use much of the land to boost energy production.
The NFL's multi-million-dollar donation aimed at stopping anthem protests isn't going very well. At least 25 players either sitting, kneeling, or raising a fist on Sunday. The NFL agreeing to send $89 million to social justice causes last week in hopes of stopping the protests. Meanwhile, New York Giants head coach Ben McAdoo's days are numbered. ESPN reports he could be fired today after another loss and benching 2-time Super Bowl MVP quarterback Eli Manning. That outraged a lot of Giants fans. And the Patriots may be without star tight end Rob Gronkowski after, look at this, a very dirty hit there on Buffalo Bills cornerback Tre'Davious White. Gronk apologizing after the game.
I don't really believe in type of shots like that. Just want to apologize to Tre'Davious White.
He owned it. You got to give him credit for that. White did suffer a concussion. Gronkowski could be hit with a suspension for that move.
Curious to see what happens today with McAdoo. Keep you posted. Okay, going viral this morning. It is not an emergency. One fire crew is just getting into the Christmas spirit. The Sterling Fire Department in Colorado remaking Carol of the Bells by pairing their truck lights with music. How cool is this? The ensemble taking about 10 hours to create. Their hard work is paying off, already getting nearly 500,000 views.
It's pretty cool.
That looks awesome.
And a heartwarming reunion just in time for the holiday season.
Please welcome home Sergeant Elliot Burgos.
Sergeant Burgos there surprising his girlfriend Angela, a dancer for the Philadelphia 76ers, on the court during halftime. Look at that.
It's awesome.
Very cool. He had been stationed in Kuwait for nearly a year.
It's awesome. I love it. Okay, and call it a meeting of the minds. 22-year-old Spencer from New York City finally coming face-to-face with 86-year-old Roz from Florida after playing the online game Words with Friends together for more than a year. You can see the reunion here. They have played more than 300 games together. Spencer has won about 210 of them, but still, that's pretty cool, huh?
That's a lot of time to play. I think about that sometimes when you play these games. You know, who's on the other end?
You don't know, right? Yeah. You don't know. That's kind of creepy, but it's also cool.
It's kind of cool. All right, 11 minutes after the hour, the governor of Puerto Rico demanded billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars for hurricane relief. Now he's handing out $100 million in Christmas bonuses. How does he explain that?
Plus, the tax reform could be a 2-for-1 deal by dismantling parts of Obamacare. Dr. Nicole Saphier breaks down the big changes, including the fate of the individual mandate.
All right, welcome back. Washington might be one step closer to getting to the bottom of the controversial Trump dossier. The Department of Justice reportedly allowing Congress to question the FBI employee suspected of being in contact with the British spy who wrote that report on the president. This just days after the House Intelligence Committee sought contempt citations for the Obama-era DOJ and FBI. So that story widening. And remember when officials in Puerto Rico slammed President Trump for not providing enough hurricane relief to the territory? Well, now, according to Bloomberg, Puerto Rico's governor is handing out more than $100 million in Christmas bonuses to government employees, despite asking federal taxpayers to shell out $94 billion for recovery efforts from the hurricane. 1/3 of that territory, which was already $70 billion in debt when the storm hit, is still without power more than 2 months after that storm. Jillian.
The Senate voting to pass the Republican Party's sweeping tax reform bill. And among other provisions, the bill would eliminate the penalty for not buying health insurance starting in 2019. So many people are wondering, how will this affect their health care? Here now with some answers to break it down for us is Dr. Nicole Saphier. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
How do you see this playing out as of right now?
You know, I'm cautiously optimistic at this point. You know, we have a long week ahead of us, and just because this passed over the weekend doesn't mean that this is what's going to happen.
We'll take the optimism, though. How about that?
Yes.
And we're going to have a couple breakdowns here so you can explain to us how this is going to work for a lot of people out there. So let's start with repealing the individual mandate. Who is this going to help?
So this is big that this made it through the Senate. I mean, I was a little surprised that this made it through the Senate. But it did come with a couple of caveats, but that's okay. You know, that's people working together. You actually put a bipartisan bill in it to come together, and that's what we've been asking for. So repealing of the individual mandate, that's going to help the people who can't afford health insurance not have to purchase the health insurance. Now they're able to keep that money. They're not being penalized anymore. So whether they want to purchase a catastrophic plan or use it for direct primary care access, they're able to do it. They're giving back choice, and that's what people have been demanding.
And do you see this being something that sticks?
I don't know.
Okay.
We have a lot of work to be done for that. I mean, with the passage of Alexander Murray, there are some negotiations happening, and that may make it work, and that may help people. We have to temporarily increase the sharing reductions. We have to bring them back, and that's really how the individual mandate's going to stabilize the marketplace. You can't just do one without the other right now.
Okay, to be determined then. Temporarily reviving the cost-sharing reduction subsidies to the insurance companies. How important is this?
So exactly, this is how this was able to make it out of the Senate bill, because you had Senator Collins, who would not be okay with the individual mandate. She's been against it the whole way. But by keeping in the cost-sharing reduction subsidies, that's how it passed, and this is how we're getting forward progress. A lot of people may be upset about this, and they're going to have to tweak the deal a little bit, but it's progress.
Right. Progress, hey, you know what? Progress is good. Allowing low-income people to deduct burdensome medical expenses. Talk about this.
This is a big difference between the House and the Senate bill. And the House bill, they were actually going to do away with people being able to deduct medical expenses. And there are a lot of people with chronic illnesses that have a high amount of medical costs that do depend on these cost reductions, especially those elderly population in long-term care facilities. The Senate bill kept that. And not only did they keep it, they actually made it better for our lower-income income population. They brought it down from a 10% threshold to 7.5. So this is going to help a lot of our low income and middle class people.
How about the continued usage of the pre-tax health savings account funds?
Absolutely, still supports it. It's a great way. It's a fiscally responsible way for people to utilize their money and be able to allocate where it should go.
And finally, one of the big questions is Medicare.
Nothing specifically in the bill alters Medicare.
Okay.
We will be seeing some long-term changes to Medicare, but that has nothing to do with this bill.
So overall, if this were to stick the way it is right now, which as we know, that's not going to necessarily be the case, but would you be happy with this?
In my opinion, I think the Senate bill is significantly stronger than the House bill.
Okay.
So I'd be happier to move forward with something that's more similar to the Senate bill, but there's going to be a lot of negotiations this week, and it'll probably be something somewhere in between, and I don't know where yet.
Okay. Dr. Nicole Saphier, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks
we appreciate it. Rob?
All right, ladies, thanks so much. 19 minutes after the hour, our heroes, our military heroes, have put their lives on the line, making the ultimate sacrifice for this country. But evidently, it is a man who takes a knee for the anthem that deserves an award for bravery.
We all have an obligation, no matter the risk and regardless of reward, to stand up for our fellow men and women.
Well, the new honor for Colin Kaepernick, courtesy of the ACLU. Your comments are pouring in on this one. And like mother, like daughter, Politico has an idea for Chelsea Clinton, and it is sure to backfire. Carly Shimkus here next with the potential political run in...
Good morning and welcome back. Politico has an idea for Chelsea Clinton, and it's sure to backfire.
Yeah, the paper, or the online paper, I guess, now pushing for the former first daughter to run for the Arkansas Senate seat, which will be empty if Tom Cotton heads to the CIA.
Carly Shimkus here with the reaction online. What's going on, Carly?
Hey, good morning, guys. So people are always talking about Hillary Clinton's next potential political move, but Politico.com is getting attention for publishing an article that encourages Chelsea Clinton to run for Senate in Arkansas. Now, here's how they made their case. They say she has the Clinton name, but little of the Clinton baggage. She wouldn't hurt for name recognition or campaign cash. She is an Arkansas native, even though she hasn't lived there since she was 12. So kind of weighing the pros and cons there. You know, Republicans took to social media. They said that they want this to become a reality. One Twitter user says, please, Chelsea, listen to them. I'll even contribute to your campaign. Truly, the Dems don't have a chance anyway, but that would be a GOP guarantee. Brian also thinks it's good news, saying go for it. All for another loss. And Webb on Twitter also says, yes, please run that Clinton. Ha-ha. A lot of ha-ha-has there.
It's a lot of ha-has.
Yeah. Chelsea did say earlier this year, I believe it was, that she would run for office, or at least possibly consider it if somebody drops out or if something changes. So maybe she is interested in a political future. We'll just have to wait and see on that. I don't know about in Arkansas, though.
Goody.
So Colin Kaepernick is getting yet another award?
That's right. The ACLU of Southern California honored him last night with the Eason Monroe Courageous Advocate Award. Now, we rarely hear from Colin Kaepernick directly, but he did make comments last night upon receiving this honor. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We all have an obligation, no matter the risk and regardless of reward, to stand up for our fellow men and women who are being oppressed, with the understanding that human rights cannot be compromised.
All right, so there you have it. He was a surprise guest of honor and received a standing ovation, but not everybody on social media is clapping. Kevin on Twitter says, ACLU honors Colin Kaepernick for opposing anthem, flag, and country. Tells you everything you want to know about the ACLU. And another Twitter user chimed in saying, what he did was disrespectful and wrong. There are far better ways to protest than shunning our national anthem and military. The debate continues there.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
And this girl on, I saw this cute little cheerleader, and she does this move, which I never thought about, you know, how hard this might be to do.
I know, right? It is. Well, you saw this video, and thousands of other people did.
Whoa.
We got to give her a shout out. This is Ariel Oliver. She's a Texas high school cheerleader. I don't even know, how the heck do you do that? Well, this has been retweeted like 100,000 times, so you know people on social media are going to be, you know, watching this and trying it at home. I think we have have some footage of this. Oh, there's one girl, a little timid on the intro to that one, did not quite accomplish the goal. Yeah, there's another guy, failed there as well. I tried it at home as well last night, guys. A lot more difficult than you think it would be.
I don't even understand how you can do that.
Just ate it right there on the ground.
She just ate it, yeah. But you know what? E for effort on all accounts.
You got to have like crazy leg strength. Like one leg strength has got to be just insane to get.
As cheerleaders often do. I certainly don't.
That's incredible.
That's what I'll be doing in the green room there if you guys want to join me.
Have fun. Can you please get someone a video?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Don't fall.
If you're lucky.
All right. Thank you, Carly.
Bye.
26 minutes after the hour, caught on camera, a police officer blindsided in a brutal attack. The shocking reason for this takedown still ahead.
This could not be a more blatant and insulting attack on hardworking Americans, and we can't let them get away with it.
Hillary Clinton's emails could come back to haunt her, but she's worried about the tax reform bill. Does she have a real reason to worry or continue bashing Republicans? That debate is coming your way next.
All right, Hillary Clinton back in the headlines. The FBI now reviewing the probe into her emails after one of the top agents on that case, in that probe, and also the same agent was on the Robert Mueller special counsel. He was caught sending anti-Trump text messages to a colleague. But Hillary Clinton unfazed in this. Instead, she is taking aim at the Senate's newly passed tax plan.
In the last 24 hours, the Senate passed this absolutely horrible tax cut plan, okay? Now, it's great for Donald Trump and his family. It's great for the billionaires who support him. This could not be a more blatant and insulting attack on hardworking Americans, and we can't let them get away with it.
So much hysteria around this tax plan. But is this renewed probe that we are talking about bigger than Hillary Clinton thinks? Here now to debate that is the spokesperson for America First Action PAC, Katrina Pearson, and Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha. Guys, thanks so much for coming on this morning. I guess we start here with Peter Strzok. This is the gentleman we're talking about here. He was part of the Hillary Clinton probe, also on the Bob Mueller probe into President Trump, and apparently he does not like the president very much and has said so in text messages. Katrina, we'll start with you. Does this surprise you that there appears to be this kind of bias within the FBI?
No, it doesn't surprise me at all. Hillary Clinton clearly is trying to stay relevant, and she's very comfortable and confident that she's going to continue to get away with all of the misdeeds that she's done. We're talking about Mueller's team, a team that is stacked deep with Democrat donors. And Peter Strzok was having an affair with one of the FBI lawyers on Mueller's team who he was text messaging with. This case is definitely going to go forward. I see no reason why the House doesn't move forward with these contempt charges, because clearly the Department of Justice and the FBI have been blocking those requests for information through the subpoenas the House issued. And we're talking about a body that needs to be investigated. So of course we have to investigate the investigators at this point, because the bias is absolutely clear and this needs to go forward.
Okay, Chuck, I know you're obviously not on the Trump train here. You were a Bernie Sanders guy. But you have to admit that this does appear to show. I mean, the president just put out a tweet about the FBI, lacking credibility in a lot of ways, and he got a lot of fire for that. This doesn't look good, though, does it?
It doesn't. I'll remind everybody that the Republicans are in control of everything in this city. They have the White House, the House, the Senate. If they want to open any kind of investigation that they want to open, I welcome that. They can do anything they want to. For a Democratic consultant, it's news to my ears, because I think the American people are ready to move on past Hillary Clinton and put that behind them. But I want to make sure that if there was any wrongdoings, they have every right to open up every investigation they want to, just like they've done with Russia and other things.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Chuck is absolutely right. For the first time, Chuck and I agree on something. And that's one of the things that a lot of people have been upset about with Attorney General Jeff Sessions. If he's not going to appoint a special counsel to investigate the investigators, then the House has no choice but to move forward with contempt. This idea that suddenly now they want to make people available to talk to the House after the request or threatening of being in contempt, that's unacceptable. We are talking about millions of dollars that private citizens are having to paid through hiring attorneys to fight this ridiculous Russia case.
Well, and
this has to be justified.
Remember, let's go back to the Hillary Clinton scandal, and remember when he came out, you know, before the election, and James Comey came out and requested or suggested that no charges be filed against Hillary Clinton. A lot of people said that's really out of his purview to make that kind of statement. And then you see this kind of behavior as well, and it all starts to make you wonder, I mean, was there really just a preference within the FBI that Donald Trump not win this election?
Well, I think that's already been clarified, Rob. And if we look at James Comey, this guy, Peter Strzok, was the same guy that helped him draft that statement prior to a lot of this information coming out. So of course, you have a team right now under Mueller who shouldn't even be in charge, Rosenstein included. Fox News has already reported with Greg Jarrett, these guys should not, they should have stepped aside based on the legal statute alone, and they haven't. Yeah. And now we see that they've been covering for people inside their own team that are biased against the president, and they weren't fired, and that's the problem here. That individual is still at the FBI.
And let me go over to Chuck real quick. Just I want to talk about the tax plan real fast. You're probably not a big proponent of it, but we have seen a lot of progress here in just the last 9-10 months. Our GDP has exploded. I think it's double what it was under President Obama right now. We are seeing jobs coming back. Is this tax plan as bad as the Democrats are trying to paint it?
It is, Rob, because you just made my case, because the government's doing better or the economy's doing really good. You don't give tax cuts to millionaires when the government is doing so good and when the job economy is doing good. Donald Trump talks about doubling the stock market and all the wonderful things. GDP growth is going up. That's not the time you give fat cats in Wall Street more money. Yeah, this is just a payback.
But if millions of jobs come back to the United States, that's a Bernie Sanders style idea right there in itself. This is stuff that
Absolutely.
I think you should agree with.
That's why the Democrats wanted to put into this bill, if you're going to repatriate this money, let's guarantee that it's going to go to the workers and to the regular people. They wouldn't even do that because they want to give it back to their donor friends.
You want to see that guarantee on the paper if they
I'd like to see workers get a raise. Is that kind of unique? Real workers hadn't had a raise in 20 years.
I'd like to see raises. I'd like to see more jobs too. Guys, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
The reason why this is going so well is because of the optimism that President Trump has brought to this country in anticipation of this tax plan.
Yeah, there's definitely economic optimism despite everything else. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Jillian.
The U.S. and South Korea kicking off the largest air exercise ever as a new threat of nuclear war with North Korea emerges. Starting today, more than 230 fighter jets are taking part in the week-long effort known as Vigilant Ace. Nearly 12,000 members from the U.S. Army and Navy will be flying the jets from 8 different bases. Top officials hoping to put military pressure on North Korea.
I think what we need to push, and I think the Secretary of State has been trying to do this, is a freeze for a freeze. In other words, North Korea cuts down on shooting missiles for a period of time, and maybe we reduce a little bit of this military cooperation with South Korea.
National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster warning the threat of war is growing.
There are ways to address this problem short of armed conflict. But it is a race because he's getting closer and closer, and there's not much time left.
The joint drill comes just 1 week after North Korea tested its most advanced intercontinental ballistic missile that could potentially target anywhere in the U.S. Developing now, a disturbing image drawn on a student's homework lands a man behind bars. Robert Edwards is accused of drawing this picture of an apparent attack scene at an elementary school in Florida. It shows the building on fire and stick figures shooting with guns. Edwards' connection with students there is unclear, and police don't believe he was planning to carry out an attack, but he has been charged with written threat to kill or do bodily injury. Time's running out for sanctuary cities, including Denver. The Department of Justice giving a December 8th deadline to comply with ICE or lose millions in federal funding. The city already passing legislation helping illegals avoid deportation in direct violation of federal law. The director of policy studies at the Center for Immigration Studies joined us earlier to weigh in.
Sanctuary policies are a problem because they inevitably result in the release of criminal aliens, who are a small fraction of the illegal population, but the ones that are the highest priority for deportation. And so they put the public at risk.
Places like Los Angeles, Seattle, and the entire state of Oregon are also on the DOJ's list that could miss out on funding. In the next few days, President Trump expected to make a big decision on a campaign promise.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
Senior advisor Jared Kushner says the president is still undecided.
He's still looking at a lot of different facts, and that when he makes his decision, he'll be the one to want to tell you, not me. So he'll make sure he does that at the right time.
Right now, the embassy is in Tel Aviv. The Palestinian president says moving that embassy and recognizing Jerusalem as the Israeli capital would jeopardize peace efforts.
All right, check this out. The supermoon.
Whoa.
Wowing stargazers around the world for the first and actually the only time this year.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Full cold moon, the closest to Earth during its orbit, kicking off what's being called a trio of lunar events. Up next, a supermoon happening next month on New Year's Day, actually.
Wow,
the third supermoon will happen on January 31st. NASA says the last one will be extra special because it will also feature a total lunar eclipse.
That will be cool.
Those
And
images
it's crazy
are so wild.
Yeah, if you take it the right way, you can make the moon just look massive if you shoot it just the right way and zoom in quite a bit. All right, we're going to talk about some weather now. And did you hear that we might be getting some snow on Friday?
No.
Is that right, Janice?
Okay, Rob likes the snow. Jillian, not so much? Okay, I'll take it. Yes, we might get snow Friday night into Saturday if you live in New York City because there's changes underway. Current temperatures, you can see the cold air moving across the Rockies, right? Look at Chicago, okay? Chicago is going to get into the 60s today. Tomorrow into the 30s, a 30-degree drop. So there's our past 24 hours. You see that storm system moving across the Rockies, the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes. We have blizzard warnings in effect for parts of the Dakotas in through Minnesota. So some snow and very cold, windy conditions, and that's why we have blizzard warnings. And this is our big system that's really going to change that weather pattern as we go through the next couple of days. So there's the future radar, upper Midwest, Great Lakes. There's the cold front associated with it. And as it makes its way across towards the northeast, Friday into Saturday might be cold enough for a little bit of snow. I know, Rob, as soon as I walked into the studio, he was like, is it going to snow?
Yeah.
So
it is so beautiful when it snows in this city. It's one of my favorite things.
Beautiful, Jillian.
I haven't experienced that yet, so I just don't know what I'm missing.
There's a first for everything, and it's awesome.
That's right. All right.
Thanks,
Yes,
Jen. See you later. It is 41 minutes after the hour. President Trump has been calling out the fake news media since the beginning.